to next video. Now if you see this, it's obviously reform announcement or something. But if you see what it says, word reform gets stormed out. So it's no longer based on them saying the policies of what they're gonna do, or they'll do this to sort things out, or do that to sort things out. Now it's just coming into this, word reform gets stormed out. Which is basically like a personality contest. So what they've done is they've purposefully created the Stormer as a fall guy in all the news media, to try and create a personal hatred for the Stormer, because then it leads to this. That's what it's boiled down to. They're not saying, well, we're going to do this, we're going to deport loads of immigrants, we're going to, they're just saying for a reform to get Stormer. They've boiled down to like a personality contest, like a Miss Universe or something, Now as you see, there's been many reform acts in the British history. And this part very telling about it, because the Representation of the People Act, 1832. So when they did these reform acts, there was one in 1918 or something as well. The representation of the people is basically very telling, because obviously when they're doing this new reform thing, and as you're not harboring about Muslims, they're talking about representation of the people, they're talking about reforming and giving representation to the Muslims. Right? That's what they're doing now in the present day. As you can see, it's been reforms all the way. Keep reforming the democratic system. Apparently they give more votes. More spread out more votes to more people and all this. So obviously the day now it's going to be deal with giving the votes to the Muslim, all these foreigners. That's what they're trying to do, which literally takes your British lands away from the native peoples. Reform the electoral system in England and Wales, expand the franchise. It's a franchise to them, like a McDonald's or something. Obviously we know who runs all these countries. It's just like looked upon as like an economic franchise, like a business. They run it like in that way. It's obviously our native lands, our home lands. See what I mean? As you see, they always go in Masonic dates. They always did them on a Masonic dates. You had 32. Now we've got the 18 for 666, and this one extended franchise on men over the age of 21 and women over the age of 30. Tripled the electorates from 7 million to 21.4 million. Introduced first past the post voting system. And required residency in a specific. Of course, the residency thing, it would be from the country now, they get a vote. Equal franchise, representation of people. So you see, this is basically, although it seems like they're helping, like giving, expanding obviously the right to vote for different people. What they're doing is gone along a communistic way. The one, if we were, obviously when it started out, it was probably just the upper class ones who had the right to vote. Then probably the educated ones from the universities. And then we just widened it. And now they're actually giving votes to non-Britishers, foreigners, right? So it's communism, it's on the way to communism. Obviously masquerading as if it's helping the people, right? But that's the secret of the communism. When you have the communist dictatorships coming, like Russia and China and all that, obviously they had a little inner circle that basically lived in the grand manner, while the majorities had the communistic tactics put upon them, So it's like it's corrupt, whether you've gone whichever way you go, fascism or communism, and you end up with the same type of corrupt thing. Communism is worse than fascism, you know what I mean? Because it favours foreigners who are the natives. Going back to this George Lucas thing, George Lucas come up with this great recreation, like an element of cultural Marxism. How social relations are transformed in the relationship between things, obscuring human connections behind economic transactions. Basically, that's what's going on now, in the Britain. It's all becoming about economics. It's all becoming about, the worship of money. Like it says in the Bible, the root of all evil is the worship of money. They're basically transferring over from a sort of an era where it was about God, right, to an era where it's about the devil and evil. And that's like it's all voodooistic spells and that. Commodity fetishism. That's exactly what's going on. Like, all this stuff, like, that's what they're doing. That's phantom objectivity. So it becomes like for example, you can see something like, as you can see, this is all like to do what's going on. Now there's like that thing about they're important immigrants for GDPs, and it's like, GDPs means note to anyone but for the sort of the top 2% of business owners like in the country, and that's all a GDP means. It means note in realities to people. It's important all immigrants and Africans and Indians to grow GDP, which it's like exactly run by these type of things, phantom objectivities and all this. You see, they're doing away with the humanity of it, right? And it's all becoming about economics, numbers, and soulless type of motorways and this type of thing. The proletariat is obviously the people. They're basically following this like letter for letter type of thing. So you're one of the evil bastards things, alienation. Alienation of individuals from their labour and from each other. And that's exactly what's going on, like an island, not that Stormer once said, an island of strangers. It's following a textbook Marxist philosophy. Obviously bringing in all these aliens and that, it leads to this estrangement type idea in their own lands. Of course, what the myrrh is, right? So when the three wise men went to see Jesus to give good frankincense and myrrh, G-A-E-W and star, right? So it's exactly the what do you call it? Marxist playbook. Of course, within this strangers, obviously, is a trans island of transgenders, which is what they want to bring about. You don't see us at all, don't you? Not see us at all. English classes. Rubbish, rottenish. See us at all, like that. This is what's going on, from capitalism, right? Obviously capitalism transfers over to communism. So the two systems are basically, obviously, the same thing. They've obviously, you get people there standing up for the communism and other ones for the capitalism. It's just both lead to the same thing. They can't,